How many people in this room have seen the show Grey's Anatomy? I began watching the show for the first time in college, and to put it plainly, I was obsessed. I love the pace, the characters, and watching their growth throughout the seasons. The day I watched season 10, episode 24, my world was forever changed. He's not the son, you are. I want to say that again so you understand the weight that this quote carries for me. He's not the son, you are. My freshman year of high school, I began my first relationship with a boy that was 4 years older than me. With that age gap came expectations that I was nowhere near ready for. At a very young age, I had to navigate losing my virginity through an ultimatum to someone that I thought that I loved. That ultimatum led to more, and those led to emotional abuse and eventually rape. At the age of 15, my life was forever changed in a matter of minutes. Following what happened to me, I was silent. I didn't want to or know how to talk about it, even if I was willing. Sorry. The people closest to me could probably tell that something was wrong, but I couldn't fathom having to relive that trauma again by having to tell someone. For the following months, I was numb. I couldn't cry because I hadn't figured out how to begin processing what I had gone through, and I wouldn't talk to anyone about it, which made the numbness even worse. On the outside, I did my best to put a smile on my face and pretend like everything was fine, and nothing had happened. I became good at that, almost too good. As an athlete, I'm hardwired to push through pain, mental or physical, so in the moment, it felt like I was doing the right thing. I thought that I could use lacrosse as my outlet, and it would just make all of my pain go away like that. I went on to put off talking about what happened to me until I was in college. And even then, I was not ready to yet. It was the fall of my freshman year, and I was sitting through our student-athlete sexual education talk. And I sat through about the first half of it, and I walked out in tears. Just about the same thing happened for every year following during that same mandatory presentation. The way it was given, the setting, the tone, the language was not helpful or mindful that they were speaking to an unknown number of potential survivors. It wasn't until my sophomore year of college when I truly started to unpack what I had gone through and how it was still affecting me emotionally on and off the lacrosse field. Using lacrosse as this outlet to try and make this pain go away was not working. As an athlete, it's helped me develop into this strong person that I am today, but no one is strong enough to deal with rape alone. And I thought that I could. And as great as it was for me to start talking about it and opening up, it was excruciating having to live through all of that trauma over again by having to talk about it. But if I hadn't done that, I would not be standing on this stage right now. Thank you. Throughout the rest of my time in college, I did the work. By no means was that work perfect, consistent, or what I wanted to do all the time, but I did it. And even now, I still am. The quote I mentioned earlier is one that has stuck with me ever since I first heard it. I have a tattoo of it on my body. During that entire relationship, everything I did was to make him happy, to be the perfect girlfriend for him. My world revolved around him and him only. During that time, he was the sun for me. Following that relationship, I had to find myself again. And I had to remind myself why I can and should shine all on my own. I became my own sun. It was during that time that I was doing all this work on myself that I realized that I wanted to take this to a much bigger scale. Our education system has to be better. NCAA athletes go through this mandatory education as this rule, but in my experience, it's a box that universities feel like they have to check. I'm not trying to place all this blame on the universities. I mean, how do you go about talking about something so sensitive and so heavy with kids in their late teens to early 20s? Especially that when from birth they're taught that rape is something that is not talked about, and that when it is, the survivor is being questioned or blamed for something that is not their fault. When I put it that way, it seems like the impossible task. So how do we do it? We have to normalize talking about gender-based violence from a younger age. The first time someone is taught about gender-based violence cannot be when they get to college. Today, when kids are getting to college, most have been having sex for years already. It's too late then. How do we expect rape to stop when we aren't even talking about it or teaching prevention until kids are getting to college and they've been having sex for years already? It's backwards. Middle and high school age kids go through health class as a part of school. And while consent is typically something that's, maybe gone over, it's maybe mentioned here or there, I believe that there's a way that we can start teaching about healthy relationships from that younger age, and it would make the world of a difference. Kids need to know that only talking to your partner, only being allowed to talk to that person, only spending time with that person, feeling like you have to be intimate, and putting their happiness above your own because you love them no matter what, that's not healthy. That's not real love. That's not a real relationship. If we develop this kind of understanding, it would give these kids the tools and the understanding to be able to recognize something that's potentially harmful before they even become sexually active. Another part of our issues in education comes in our lack of attention to detail. We talk to an entire athletic community with all the teams sitting in the same auditorium, or we send out a virtual training program about something that is so sensitive. Instead of just doing it to say we did it, I believe that we have to tailor these conversations to more specific groups of people. Why are we having the same conversations that we're having with men that we are with women? Even if you look at two survivors of the same gender, their experiences will not be the same. If we know this to be true, even if you look at two survivors that share the same gender identity, why do we then think we can give the same education to everyone and have the same conversations? It doesn't make sense. Then, if you take this large group of people that we're constantly talking to, if you look at it, if we take a smaller group of people, those hard conversations will happen. It's bound to happen. If you're sitting in a giant room and you're being given a PowerPoint presentation, you're asking to engage and speak up, you're probably not going to feel comfortable doing so. I'll take myself as an example. If I'm sitting in a room and I'm asking to engage and contribute and, be vulnerable on something so heavy, I'm not going to feel comfortable doing so. Not just due to the sheer presence of men in the room, but the presence of people that I don't know at all. Why would I speak to something so sensitive in front of strangers? I think wanting people to speak up and open up is so great, and I think that piece of the education has gotten a little bit better. But if we truly want to make a difference for people, then we have to start tailoring these conversations to more specific groups. We have to create a more safe space. We have to create a more intimate, safe space that fosters that ability to be vulnerable and have the hard conversations, because they need to be had. They really do. With that being said, these are minor changes. They're little things that can change. But I believe that personally, if I had gone through, earlier training, more specific training, maybe it could have prepared me better for that relationship. Would it have stopped what he did to me? Absolutely not. But maybe I would have been able to rationalize or see the countless red flags. Maybe I would have asked for help. And maybe after it was over, I would have spoke up sooner. I believe that there is a way for us to move forward, for us to be better, for the next generation of little girls. I am so passionate about gender-based violence education. As a survivor, it is my hope to bring awareness to something that is too often overlooked. In the United States, 1 in 6 women will experience sexual violence in their lifetime. And with the number of people that do not report, I can only imagine what that number truly looks like. Every single person sitting in this room knows or has known someone that's been affected by sexual violence, whether you know it or not. A friend, a partner, a family member. With that being said, I would like to read a quote from Chanel Miller's victim impact statement. My damage was internal. Unseen, I carry it with me. You took away my worth, my privacy, my energy, my time, my safety, my intimacy, my confidence, my own voice. My independence, natural joy, gentleness, and steady lifestyle I had been enjoying became distorted beyond recognition. I became closed off, angry, self-deprecating, tired, irritable, empty. The isolation at times was unbearable. You cannot give me back the life I had before that night. I am a strong female athlete, affected but not defined by the actions of my perpetrator. It is my hope that someone sees this and finds comfort knowing that they're not alone, that just one person hears this and feels less shame and more hope, and that maybe not today, but one day, they'll find comfort in their own skin again. Thank you.